Okay, class. So in this part of the homework, I actually changed a little bit from what I thought this assignment would be, so I'll update the assignment as well. So in this part of the homework, we're going to use another one of their starter projects. We're going to use one with the button, and we're going to take some input and we're going to do stuff with it. We're going to take input from a button. So to start out, you go again to create a new circuit. All right, so again in this lesson about how C deals with variables, declaring types of variables, and also how it does control flow. And these are things that are common to all to all computer languages you're going to try to learn. Okay, so we're going to go to starters. Come down here. There's lots of great starters here. But we are going to take the starter for button. I think I have to click here too. Okay, I'm just going to click this little button up here to make it all fit into the screen. I'm going to make my components go away. Okay, so let's talk about what we have here. We have a button. Now, this is using a part of the breadboard that we hadn't covered before, and that is there is no connection across this middle channel. So basically, this stripe is all one connection, and this stripe is all one connection, but there's no connection between the two here. And that we need that for this particular button because what we want is the button in itself is going to make the connection. So when the button is not pressed, there is a connection that goes straight from, let's see. Oh, when the button's not pressed, the signal coming across is 0 because this is set straight to ground. There's a little residual charge coming off of here. This resistor just makes sure that we don't read that as being pressed. Okay, so this is the off thing. When we press this button, it's going to switch from making a connection across this way. Inside, it switches and it makes a connection across this way and comes down here. And that's how it can tell that the button is being pushed because this 5 volts is going to be coming across and it's going to read that over here. Okay, so that's how the button works. Now, I haven't explained resistors, and there are more lessons where you can learn about resistors and learn about why there's a resistor in this circuit, but I'll show you where you might want a resistor in a circuit in just a second. All right, so what this will do when we upload and run it is when I press the button, it's going to turn on that blinky LED, that pin 13 that we learned to do before. Okay, so if we look at the code editor, okay, up here are all the comments and it tells what it does and it tells who wrote it. Okay, we're going to declare, now they are declaring a type called const int. By calling it an integer that has kind of like a double type, const means nobody has permission to ever change this value in the whole program. As we saw in our Scratch episode, our Scratch example during class, it can be a real pain if somebody changes something in a way that's unpredictable or whatever. So this is just a way to control it. You don't actually need to have that. It's just an extra security feature. It says nobody's allowed to change this during the entire time the program is running. It's this variable that we name, this is the name of our variable here, is going to be holding an integer value. It's going to be holding a number, a particular kind of number called an integer. And the button pin is 2. If you look up here, that's where the wire to the button is plugged in. The LED pin is 13. And we've talked about before, the 13 LED turns this thing off and on right there. That turns that LED off and on. It also sends current to this LED. Okay? So you can either get this one turning off, well, you get both. So it'll turn this one off and on, and it'll turn this up and down. Okay? This is a variable that can change. It doesn't have the word const in front of it. So we declare that as just an integer, and it's called the button state. We could make this in, if we were choosing things and if we didn't hadn't imported a bunch of functions from somebody else, instead of using an int, we might have used a bool or a true false value here. But we're going to have to, since we're going to use all their pre-coded functions, they are going to return an integer value from this, and we're going to use an int to record our button state. Okay, so it's going to start out as 0, meaning it's off, and then it's going to change. We're going to see how that happens. Okay, in setup, we need to tell the pin 13, remember this is a variable that now stands for the number 13. We're going to tell them you are going to be output. We're going to tell the button pin is number 2, that's what this variable stands for. You are going to be input. And we have to tell them that because they don't know whether they're talking or listening. Okay, they need to know if they're talking or listening. This digital read is a function that we get from Arduino world. We talked about things at the beginning of a C program. There is a little hashtag like include standard IO or include math or include something else. There's a whole library of pre-coded functions. There's tons of libraries out there. This is a pre-coded function that is how to read an Arduino board, and it's how to read a certain pin. And what we're going to do is every time we run this loop, the first thing is we will change the button state to whatever's happening on the button. Okay, that's what this does. Every time we're going to check. That's like in my loop forever. I'm always checking to see, you know, something about my sprite. Okay, in Scratch. Here is our control flow. Control flow, remember, are if then else, while this, repeat until. That's control flow. All the computer languages are going to have some kind of control flow. This is an if statement, so if our button statement is high, then there's like an implied then. It doesn't have the word then, but everything under the if is, if this is true, then do all of this stuff under there. That's how it works in C. So if that is true, then digital write LED pin high is what sends the voltage to the pin 13 and turns it on. Else is right here. Else, if it's low, else, oh, I'm sorry, there's no if. Else, turn the LED off. So let's upload and run and make sure that this is all running. Okay, so now I press the button, I'm clicking on it. You can see the LED turns on, it turns off, it turns on. I'm going to lift up on the button, turns off. All right, so everything is working there. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is add another LED that will respond to LED 13. Okay, so I'm going to add a component. Oh, I'm under starters. I have to go to components. There we go. And I'm going to plug it into these two. Oh, maybe I'll move them down there. Oh no, I'll move him down here so we can be closer to this guy. Okay, now I'm going to hook this up to 13. I'm going to show you a little bit of how to move around in this system here. I'm going to move this down. What I can do is I click on 13 and that starts my wire. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click and that lets me bend my wire. And then I can come over here and bend my wire again. And then I'm going to connect. Now you can see that I'm connected to that LED. Okay, so this one, I can actually connect here and go to there, and that's going to connect that one. Now this one should be black, and this one should be red. And let's see if I if I did this correctly, since this and this are both 13, they should both turn on when I do this. Otherwise, I may need to swap those. All right, so let's get to our code editor and do upload and run. Okay, and then come over here, press it. Oops, I think I have these switched. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to switch. Oops. I'm going to click on this and move this guy over here. And I'm going to move this guy up here. And this goes over here. I'm almost out of time. but this one should work. So see me in the next video and we'll see if I got this one to work.